Welcome to the chat where the deals get done. Real estate tips and a whole lot of fun. Think different, achieve your goals. Real estate simplified, that's how we roll.
Hey there, how's everybody doing today? Mike Kruse, owner-broker of Reside Real Estate, here with Brandon Rizk from Allied Mortgage.
Good morning, how is everyone?
All right, and looking as we hit mid-September 2025 here, got some good things going on in the market. Real estate markets, we're doing okay. Numbers are about the same as they have been. Brandon, what's going on with rates?
Rates have been down. We spoke about this before. Rates have been down, and they are lower than they've been quite a long time. I will tell you that I locked a conventional loan without any points at 599 recently.
Wow.
It was an anomaly. This loan was specific to the pricing, but we're in the low sixes. We are in the high fives. We are way lower than we were a year ago, let alone 2 years ago. And it is starting to buzz. It's starting to come. The calls are coming. The people are starting to get interested again.
Yeah.
And it's becoming more affordable. It's going to bring some buyers back in the market.
Awesome.
Yeah. And here we are, September 11th, 25. We have our Mr. Powell speaking on the 16th or 17th of this month. And we do expect him to cut. We just don't know how much, whether it's 25 basis points or 50 basis points. But it's, with all the news out there, we have pretty much solidified a rate cut at some point from the Fed.
Okay, so that's great news. But as you've said before, for the most part, the rates we're seeing now already reflect that cut.
That's correct.
Just to reiterate yet again, I know we've talked about it before. But
yeah, that's correct. And as we spoke about, with the mortgage side, the Fed rate does not mean mortgage rates, but the price, it is already speculated and priced in with people jumping out of the stock market, chasing into bonds with all the bad economic news. And as soon as the rate cut hits, they expect the stocks, people to jump out of bonds and go back into the stock market, out of the safety havens and go back into more risky things.
Right.
And depending on how much he cuts, will be what happens with bonds. If he does a 25 basis point cut, I do believe rates will go up the day he cuts rates.
Okay.
I don't think they're going to go up, but they will be inching higher.
Take a little bump.
If he does 50 basis points, we'll maybe see it status quo.
Okay.
Hopefully, that's the fingers crossed statement I could give you.
So good news in the market there. Just a little bit what we're seeing out here in the real estate side of it with homes. Las Vegas has had an issue with a gap in the market per se for really several years, the affordability gap. All the lower end homes typically go pretty quick, higher end homes go pretty quick, and in between kind of sit there. That's really become exaggerated over the last few months. What we're seeing is basically anything that qualifies for FHA financing. So what are we at, around 525?
Right, or 5 1/4, somewhere around there.
So basically 525 and under, those homes are going quick. And then anything over about 1.1 million and higher, those are also irrelevant to the market per se. That market's always consistent, always going, and it's that middle market from 525 up to 1.1 million. There's a little bit of stagnation in that market. Definitely an affordability issue, and people don't want to take on a bigger mortgage.
Well, let me ask you with that. And that's what's happening. I've noticed the same thing, and I've noticed that quite a bit actually. And I know it's an affordability issue, and it brings into the topic today,
right,
that we want to talk about, which is greed in real estate.
Yes.
Okay, are the homes that are, well, I guess any home, but let's talk about the 600 to 1.1,
right,
just the gap that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay, are those homes really worth that much?
Any home is only worth what somebody is willing to pay for it.
Okay, and the reason I bring that up, okay, because you could say that about any price.
Well, right.
But there was a method in my madness.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I'm coming clean here.
Right.
I put you on the spot, but the reason I did that is because you know, there's this facade that your house is $1 million house when it really might be a 900 or an 850 house. And, you know, what we're seeing out there is, you know, we're seeing a lot of greed in pricing. And I'm going to call it greed in pricing because maybe it's on education.
Right.
I don't know. It could be ignorance. But you're seeing people think that they have gold when they don't. Yes, prices are up no matter what they are, and they have not come down. And I personally, you and I spoke, we don't believe they're coming down that much if they do. But I don't think that people have grasped what their home really is worth because the last 4 years have been an anomaly.
Right.
So how do we measure what that's worth?
First and foremost, yes, greed exists, and we're going to talk about what the greed is and all of that stuff. But I'm going to talk real quick about why.
Why? Let's talk about that.
Here we are in 2025. I'm going to partially blame AI. And what do you mean by that? All these AI price estimates out there, they give people a false sense of what their property is worth. And it can be high or low sometimes.
I was going to say, sometimes I've started to actually see them be more conservative than they used to be.
They used to be. They can be. But when somebody jumps on a particular website, I'm not even going to name the name of it.
Don't justify
and
it.
truthfully,
don't give them advertisement. Sorry.
All the big ones do it anymore.
I know, I'm joking.
The ones that start with an R, a Z, a Y, and a Q.
Yeah.
They all do. And they're just not always correct. But people see that number.
It's impossible for AI to be correct.
Right, right. It's an algorithm, and they all use a slight variation, but they're all the same. And I'm sorry, but nobody can give you an accurate estimate like a realtor can on the price of your home.
Well, you know, AI, just to piggyback, and maybe I'm taking your next statement, but you know, okay, sure, they can average what the square footage around you is selling and how long the market time is. Sure, that's great. In fact, that's actually really helpful.
Right.
As a realtor, you may use that information.
Right.
It's actually kind of nice to make your job a little easier.
Well, right.
But they don't take into effect the condition of the property, the upgrades done to the property.
Exactly.
Yeah, they know the county record says there's a pool, but
well, exactly.
Is there rocks on that pool? Is there a fireplace in that pool? You know, whatever.
Your 3,000 square foot home is different than the 3,000 square foot home that sold for $900,000, and yours, that one had brand new floors, totally remodeled, and you have tile countertops and oak cabinets from 1995. I'm sorry, they're not the same.
You know, I'm not an old man, but I'm going to tell you, 1995 does not seem like it was 30 years ago. But
Right,
it really was,
it was
30 years ago. Those are 30-year-old cabinets, guys.
Right.
I mean, hey, it was 30 years ago. Whether we want to believe it or not, it's true. It is 30 years ago.
So yeah, no, there is a little bit of a difference, but we'll talk about the greed that's out there and.
Talk about greed. Let's do it, because you see this on a real estate listing point and even the buyer's point. We'll get to the buyers. I think we should start with the listing, though, if you're okay with that.
Right.
But I see it in the finance end, which I can end maybe with this, but I like to give the basis of what you see. So let's talk about the listing side, the sellers, what we just spoke about. We think our house is worth this. We don't really know. You see it in AI or you see it wherever, but what do you see when you go on a listing appointment? Let's talk real life. What happens when you speak to a seller? You go there, you don't know them.
Right.
You were just referred, or it was a cold call, whatever it is. What's the conversation like?
So it starts off taking a walk around the house. And every seller, I don't care what they're selling, if it's a one-bedroom condo or a 5,000 square foot McMansion that up in McDonald Highlands. Every one of them, they're all the same. They point out everything that they have done over the length that they have owned it.
Correct.
And if it's, doesn't even matter, but something as simple as changing a plug on an outlet and they think that adds value. Well, I'm sorry, maintaining the home in proper working order does not add value. It's assumed the home is going to be in proper working order.
You would think. You would think.
But
it's the attachment. It is the attachment. I understand.
And it's the sweat equity.
Yeah.
they put into the home, and I appreciate that.
It's their child's memories of their child's walking down the hallway. So that
It
their
is.
home,
It is.
it's a natural human instinct.
Yes.
Their home is worth more than it really is in their head because
Well,
their child walked down that hallway or this
and
and
I
that,
will
and
tell
it means
you,
something to them.
The longer they've lived in the home, the more the emotional attachment,
Correct.
the higher the greed.
Okay.
Because
So-
it's their home, they think it's worth more.
So let's talk about where the greed plays into this. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk pricing in a listing, as a listing agent, a seller's agent, you're going to recommend what you think the house might be worth according to the market. Do you
Right.
always go a little higher? Does the seller talk you into higher? How does that go?
I approach it a little bit differently, actually.
Okay.
Whenever I'm sitting, after taking a look at the home, sitting down, talking with the owner of the property and figuring out what we want to list it at, I always ask them first, what do you think it's worth?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, okay, we're in the same ballpark. Sometimes we're not. And when we're not, and when they're low, I love it. I'm like, oh, you're going to love this. We're going to get you more money.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a great conversation. But I'd say 80% of the time it's the opposite.
In this world, I think,
Where,
the way it's
especially in the
gone-
current market.
Correct.
Where they think it's worth more than it is. And I'll flat out ask them, how did you come up with that price? And they'll say, oh, the house down the street sold for this amount of money. The house down here sold for this. I say, okay, great. Did you have a chance to look at those homes? Well, no, but I saw the pictures online. Okay, so you saw the pictures online, and why do you think your home should be worth more? And usually we can have that conversation, and most of the time we can come to an understanding that maybe your home isn't higher priced than that one, and a lot of times it should actually be a little bit lower.
But not all the time. But yes,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on, I don't have a specific instance.
So what do you
that I'm gonna
define as
speak
greed?
about.
I mean, because what we're talking about here is education.
Mm-hmm.
So where does this podcast fill in? So what we're talking about today is when he says at his listing appointment, I'm just going to throw numbers, okay? The seller thinks the house is worth $800.
Right,
Mike says the house is on a best day $750.
right,
The seller thinks he's going to get $800, so he's going to want, he or she, I should say, he or she is going to want to start at $825.
right.
That to me is the purpose of this. That is greed.
That is greed. And what even makes it more of a situation where there's a lot of greed most of the time I should say, is after the home's been on the market, you haven't had maybe but one or two showings, and they refuse to drop the price. And there could be a variety of reasons for that. Maybe they paid too much for the property.
Well, there could be a lot of reasons, and it may not be intentional.
Well, right.
Okay, now here's another form of this.
Mm-hmm.
If they are on the market and they haven't had any offers, they do get an offer, and the offer's a little lower than what they may have wanted, but it's a reasonable offer.
Right,
And they just say, screw you.
right.
They counter back at their list price. They play too much hardball.
Yeah.
That's a big form of greed.
It is. A lot of times there's an underlying reason, but the bottom line, everybody else involved in the transaction and anybody on the outside that looks at it would say, yes, it's greed. So from that standpoint, it can be a situation where it's something as simple as, well, I put money into it, and their motivation, it comes down to the motivation. Do they need to sell or do they want to sell?
Well, most people, and this is most, excluding investors or whatnot, most people sell a house to buy a house.
Mm-hmm.
And what I see is they sell their house and they have the greed selling it, and then they go to buy it to lowball somebody.
Right.
Which we'll get into in a second here. But my point is, if you sell it a little less than what you hoped for, but it's sold,
Right.
you're still going to buy the next property a little less.
Right.
It all equals out. If you're selling high
Yeah.
and buying high, what's the difference? If you're selling low and buying low, what is the difference?
Well,
wake up.
right.
You can't expect here and then give somebody else here.
And
that is what we're seeing in this market.
And
my
nobody,
opinion.
and because you need $800,000 out of your house, doesn't mean somebody's going to be willing to pay that. It's just the way it is.
Right.
So yeah, I understand the house you want to buy is $750, and after closing costs and all that stuff, and you need that $750 to go buy your next house. That's great, but that doesn't make it to where you're going to find a buyer willing to pay you $800
Just because you need it
for this
doesn't mean
house.
you're going to get it.
Exactly.
And which brings me to buyers.
Mm-hmm.
It is not the 2009
Right.
housing crisis. There are many homes in the market, and sellers are willing to work, as we spoke, and most people know. But on a $500,000 house, you can't offer 4 1/4. I'm sorry, like these offers I'm seeing are like ridiculous, and a lot of agents feed into this, and I don't understand it. But generally, going into writing an offer, you as an agent, a good agent,
Right.
are going to know what that house is legitimately worth within so much money, right?
Right.
Then there might be extra motivation. Buyer really wants that house, whatever it may be, right? But to go in there really, really low, that's greed.
Exactly. Exactly.
And how do you preach against this? How do you explain to them what it's really worth, and why would sellers not do that?
So as an agent, I've had this conversation with multiple clients over the years. Real question, do you really want the house? Is the answer yes or no? And sometimes I say, well, if it works out, great. I'm like, so you're okay with losing the house? And if the answer is yes, okay, we'll offer
Play
what
the
you want
game.
to offer. But while we're making that offer, keep in mind, there's a good chance you're going to flat out offend that seller, especially if the house is priced right. So if it's overpriced, yeah, let's go in and offer a realistic price. That's not what I'm talking about with greed, because that's seller greed. But when it's buyer greed and they're just trying to steal the house per se, for lack of a better term, that's what we're talking about.
Everybody wants the best deal, but there's a reasonable way to do that.
I will say most of the time when I have that conversation and I'm blunt and real about it, buyers do recognize, okay, maybe I am being a little bit greedy. And a lot of times I'll say, okay, so instead of offering $600,000 on their $800,000 list price that's priced right, why don't we come in at $700,000 and I'll let the agent know that you are a serious buyer.
And let's talk. I want to clarify something. We're not here to attack buyers and sellers and tell you guys are out of the line. The reason we're saying this is we're trying to let everybody understand that you just need to know the market you're either selling or buying in. Understand what you're doing before you do it.
Right.
That's the whole point. We're not sitting here saying you're greedy, whatever it is. No, we're saying this to understand the market. So please don't just think you have gold and then you're buying dirt or whatever it may be. You need to understand what's out there, what's happening, and there's a guy next to you that is doing the same thing, and you have to be fair to your fellow person. I mean, that's just what it is. And that's what drives real estate.
Well, exactly. And I mean, buyers back in spring of 2021, you couldn't be greedy. If you were offering full list price, you were trying to be greedy.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And you kept getting kicked.
But, well, I mean, look how many people that hurt.
Exactly.
And that is the greed in real estate that we're talking. That is what gives real estate a bad image.
Absolutely.
And so let's speak about that, because who I am going to bash, and I am one of you, even though I don't practice, realtors.
Right.
Let's talk about this, Mike. You know more about this than I ever will. Tell me about real estate, realtor greed, commission greed.
Right, especially...
Commission breath, remember?
Well, exactly. Trying to force a buyer. I've always taken the approach is you're the client, you're going to be living in a home, and you need to be comfortable with the purchase. Versus these agents forcing upon somebody that they really need to make a sale and pushing them into a home that's just not for them.
Right.
And regardless, also we are seeing in the current market with ever since the NAR settlement last year, that now commissions for the buyer's agent are actually written into the contract.
And negotiable.
And I will tell you, just this last week, a situation from one of my agents that works under me is she's the listing agent on the property, and the buyer's agent was insisting on a certain percentage. Not here to talk commission percentages, but let's just say it was a certain percentage. She wanted X percent. She was not willing to take Y percent. Well, this property ended up falling short on the appraisal. The
How
seller,
short, do you remember?
$9,000.
$9,000.
The
Which is
seller-
obtainable.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, not a huge difference.
Sure.
And the property was $619,000, so it appraised for $610 instead of the $619 that they really needed out of it. The seller was already agreeing to $10,000 in contribution too. So typically, the first thing that would go away is that seller contribution to the buyer's closing costs. Well, the buyers really needed the closing costs. Sellers don't want to lose a deal. And what was presented is that the agent lower their commission to match the listing agent's commission. So
Reasonable.
And that would have made up 2/3 of that difference.
That's reasonable.
Very reasonable. So that was presented, and it was rejected. The agent said she is worth every penny of her commission, and she was willing to take her clients to another house.
Wait a minute. It's not her choice.
Right.
This is what we're talking about. This is the problem. This is why realtors have a bad name.
Yes.
This is the problem. It is not your choice as a real estate agent to take your clients to another house. It is your client's choice to choose to walk away because of your commission. Listen, we all have to make a living. Absolutely. I'm not against that. But do not be greedy and cost your clients a home
Right.
because you're worth this much. Because I guarantee you the guy next to you is probably worth a little less.
Now,
Maybe he'll do it for less.
In this specific situation, I can tell you it has been worked out. Property has not closed yet, but it's going to. However,
A bad agent could have killed that deal.
bad agent almost killed the deal.
Exactly. So,
And I will tell you the commissions were not adjusted on either side. So,
so who took it?
yeah.
The buyer and the seller.
Yeah.
Both of them.
Both of them are losing out.
I don't even know the whole scenario. I just know
Right.
what happened. I guarantee you I know what happened. So,
Yeah.
so the bottom line is this is greed. So let's talk about this as a consumer. When you're a buyer or a seller, make sure you have a real estate agent that isn't in it for the greed.
Right.
That is in it for you as a person, as a family, as a individual, or
Yes.
somebody trying to make something of themselves with the American dream. Do not sit here and be pushed around by real estate agents that need to have a certain percentage on every single house.
Right. Yeah. It always varies. It's always has varied from transaction to transaction. There is no standard.
Prior to this NAR settlement,
it's always
it
been
wasn't always
negotiable. That's a whole nother topic.
Let's take a quick pause here, Mike. I know you have a
Yes.
listing that you wanted to talk about. It's a wonderful listing. I saw the pictures, but Mike, on to you. What do you got?
This is an amazing opportunity, actually, for a first-time home buyer or an investor. This property is a condo. It's a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, 998 square feet, so basically 1,000 square feet, located right at the corner of Durango and Charleston here in Las Vegas,
Summerlin,
right behind
beautiful
Boca
area.
Park, just literally a couple minutes from Summerlin. You guys, this 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo located a couple minutes from Summerlin is only $230,000. If we could see the next slide, please. Here's your interior. This place is in fantastic condition.
It looks like the baseboards are upgraded.
Upgraded
fresh paint.
baseboards, wood floors, two-tone paint, freshly painted. This place is immaculate. And if we could go to the next slide here, shows you the living room, fireplace. I believe they're granite countertops. And the next one shows the kitchen a little bit better. Here we go.
Stainless
Stainless
steel.
steel appliances. Just really a pristine condition condo. I've shown and even sold several condos in this complex over the years. This is by far the best looking one I've seen in there. For $230,000, you cannot beat it.
How much
Those
you
are
can get in that
actually
quality
shutters
for
on
that?
the windows.
I was going to ask that question. Are those real shutters?
Those are real shutters. I
Wow.
know.
People still do that? That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
yeah.
cool.
If you're interested at all as an investor, there's no rental restrictions in this community other than you need a minimum 6-month lease, so it won't work for Airbnb, but otherwise you're good to go. $230,000, I'm pretty sure it's going to go this weekend.
Yeah, great listing.
Yeah.
Nice property. Wonderful. Looks
Yeah.
beautiful. So, you know, Mike, and earlier I mentioned on the loan side,
Yes.
I've seen a lot of greed, and it goes not only with the consumer, but it also goes with the loan officer.
Right.
And I have seen over and over again commission-heavy loan officers
Yes.
looking to make their commission breath, whatever you want to call it, and they will in turn hurt people.
Right.
Put them in the wrong program, or literally, you know, their interest rate is so out of the market. And
just this week I asked you about another lender offering a really low interest rate.
let's
what-
say it. Let's just go ahead and say the thing. So there was a pretty expensive property, and they were offering a 4.99 interest rate.
Right.
Well, I looked at it, and I have access to a lot of banks, and I will tell you that that interest rate would only be offered with excessive, and I mean excessive, high-cost loan type of buy-down.
Right.
And so what that person was doing was misleading you and saying, we'll give you this interest rate, but it was a temporary interest rate. It was not a permanent interest rate. You could not, it would actually be considered a high-cost loan to offer that interest rate. So what does that tell you? The misled statements, the anything to get you to call me, anything to shift to me type of mentality. Be careful.
Right.
Buyer beware.
And loans do have fees. It costs money to borrow money.
Correct.
Plain and simple. What, without making it sound, I don't even know if you can fully answer this, but what are fees? What should somebody expect to pay for fees? Loan origination fees. I have seen these all over the place over the years.
It depends on the client. It depends on the
Right.
loan. So I mean,
Okay.
what I tell people, if you're doing a regular loan, just like your standard agency, which is conventional FHA or VA, if you are at about 2% in today's prices,
Yeah.
about 2%, if you're 400 plus, you're about 2% above your purchase price, you know, at your purchase
Right.
price, then that is probably a good expectation.
Okay.
If you're at a $200,000 loan, you're probably, or a purchase price, you probably want to expect 3%.
Okay.
You are getting over that at a $500,000, $600,000, $700,000 deal. You're
It's getting into a lot of
you're
money.
getting there, but now there could be a reason. You're buying down your interest rate
Right.
too much, whatever it is. But you also have to understand the loan officer might be selling you an interest rate. Realize what it's costing you
Right.
over time, because I see a lot of people pay 2-3 points just for buy downs, and then they're going to end up refining in 3 years. Well, you just gave the bank a whole bunch of money to make your loan officer feel good and sell you on something that really wasn't a good
Right.
financial decision.
And I'm glad you brought up the 2% total cost, because typically for closing costs, you're looking at about 3% of the purchase price for total closing costs. So that's usually the cost of the loan, 2%, so the 2/3 of that, 3%. And then usually the other third is escrow fees, title fees, a lot of times HOA fees, couple months impounds. And if you have questions, you get to the closing table, look at those fees.
You know,
If you
Mike-
have a question what it is, don't just accept it. You're welcome to ask. 9 times out of 10, it probably can't be changed, but at least you'll get an explanation.
Right. And I'll tell you, you know, in today's price points, you start getting over 500,000, 3% is too much.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Okay.
But that's my opinion.
Right.
But you know, again, I'm not a big fan of buying a lot of points all the time and all that stuff. So that's where the full 3% in those price ranges. Again, you start, it's an $800,000 house.
Right.
Your closing cost shouldn't be $24,000. They just shouldn't be.
Right.
It should be maybe 15. 16 and somewhere around there. So, but anyway, just the bottom line of this, in my opinion, to summarize, is as a consumer, do not expect too much. You need to be fair, whether you're listing your house for sale, you're buying a house, or if you're going to a loan officer to get a mortgage. If you're a professional in our industry, wake up and do your clients justice and stop worrying about your commission and look after the people and make sure that you are doing the oath that you swore to do. Right. My opinion. So I'm off my tangent, Mike. I'm sorry.
Great. Please like, subscribe, share, thumbs up, and check us out everywhere podcasts are found. Also YouTube, if you're listening to us. We are Real Estate Simplified LV on YouTube. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mike.
Welcome to